This figure of Inori was released on October 11th, 2012, which was about 2 months before the end of the world, which obviously did not even happen, but that also makes this figure exactly 10 years old today. Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm Steven. Today I'm kicking off a new series of videos called the Hall of Fame series. My personal aim with this series is to explore older figures that came out in the past, figures that are at least 5 years old, maybe even a decade old at this point. And the only criteria where a figure might be chosen to be placed under this series of Hall of Fame videos is that the figure has to be something famous in the past, something famous back then. That is the only one criteria, a very vague one, and it is not restricted to any types of figure. It can be both price figures or scale figures. Yeah, so I'm keeping the scope very open with this series of videos. Also, the figure which I might explore in the future, it can be famously good or infamously bad, either one. So today we are starting off with something very simple, very moderate. Good Smile Company's 1/7 scale Yuzuriha Inori from Guilty Crown. So why is this figure chosen to be under this series of Hall of Fame, Hall of Shame? Actually, this figure is both good and bad at the same time. I'm not sure how to put it in words. This figure actually kind of qualifies under the Hall of Shame section, if I have to be honest, but more on that in a moment. Speaking of Guilty Crown, it was one of the hottest and the most popular anime back then when it started airing in year 2011, which is almost 11 years ago by now. The anime was well known for the animation quality as well as the music and the soundtrack. However, things started going downhill in the second half of the anime and the popularity fell. So I believe that has partly to do with the popularity of Yuzuriha Inori, which was really high initially and then the interest started falling over time. Yuzuriha Inori is still a very popular character, especially among cosplayers, where up to even year 2015 or 2016, as my memory served, I still saw a lot of cosplayers in events cosplaying this character 5 years after the anime aired, so she does have quite a lot of fans out there. Despite the popularity of this very character itself, Yuzuriha Inori has exactly 2 scale figures being made. Only 2. This is the best one available by Good Smile Company, and the other option you have is the one by Freeing in a yukata outfit. That one wasn't really great, to be honest. It was kind of okay, some people purchased it, and then there are the rest of us who had very high expectations on the Good Smile Company version of Yuzuriha Inori because the prototype, the sample we saw in Wonder Festival during that very year was spectacular. She looked excellent. However, when the figure was actually released, it was a huge disappointment, and for a very good reason. What exactly happened to Yuzuriha Inori, where she went from being the waifu of the season sometime in year 2011 all the way down to being ignored by almost every figure manufacturer? This is a question I might never know the answer. But anyways, let's move on to the main topic for the day. This figure right here, Good Smile Company's 1/7 scale Yuzuriha Inori. Yes, I mentioned earlier that she was a huge disappointment during release for 2 very good reasons. The first one, you can already see it right in front of me. The very reason why she was a disappointment, her size. She is way too small as a scale figure. Let me give you guys a very easy comparison. It's right behind me. Okay, we have a pop-up parade, affordable scale figure over here, a non-scale figure, and this is Inori next to it. Inori is basically the same size as a low-cost pop-up parade figure. This figure of Inori was released on the October 11th, 2012, which was about 2 months before the end of the world, which obviously did not even happen, but that also makes this figure exactly 10 years old today. It is her 10th anniversary, and that is the main reason why I chose this figure for my first episode of this new series of videos. So besides the size and the height of this figure, which is way underwhelming, the second issue with this figure, a rather major one, is the skin color. But with skin color, it is something that can be affected by your camera settings when you take photographs, the white balance, and also the kind of light bulbs, the lighting you use. And then there is editing and Photoshop and so on. So when we look at the official product photos, Inori has a very pleasant looking pinkish color tone skin color. But in the actual final product, where we look with our own naked eyes on the figure, her skin looks nothing like that. It is rather yellowish. There were a lot of criticisms for this, myself included. I did not really like how the figure looked like. Not to mention this figure's face, right? Well, there is nothing quite wrong with it. This is the kind of figure where she will only look really good from very specific angles while looking really weird from other angles. So these are the two or three main issues with this figure. If you were to ask me on the camera settings part which might affect the skin color of a figure and perhaps resulting in an official product photo as being misleading in some way, yes, I have attempted the same thing before. I have photographed this figure of Inori before, where her skin color on actual product looks rather yellowish, but I have managed to achieve skin colors that are very similar to the official product photos, just by a bit of tweaking of my settings with white balance and color tone in Adobe Lightroom or Photoshop, as well as the lighting setup. So even if this figure of Inori is not really well made in some ways, if you know what you are doing with photography, it is possible to make this figure look really good in photographs. This video today is not an actual review of this figure because it is not exactly fair to open up a figure, a pre-owned figure at this point which is 10 years old, and try to review it and not expect to find any flaws. You know, I might have accidentally inflicted some scratches on the figure with my own hands and I did not know that. So it is not fair to review old figures that has been opened before, but nonetheless, we took a look at this figure's past on what made her so famous or infamous at the same time. So what are your thoughts on this figure of Yuzuriha Inori? Do you even own one today? If yes, what are your thoughts on it? Please do let me know down in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching and I shall see you guys again very soon. Goodbye.